Given that f of x equals the square root of x squared plus 4x minus 3, what is the value of f of negative 6? For this one, we need to plug in that negative 6 for x. So we're going to write it. F of negative 6 equals square root of negative 6 squared plus 4 times negative 6 minus 3. All we did right there is just plug in negative 6 everywhere we saw in x. Nothing else. It's just a different notation, function notation. So now we need to go through and actually evaluate all of that stuff. Keep the square root there the whole time until the very end. Negative 6 squared. And remember, we're doing negative 6 times negative 6. So that negative times a negative should give us a positive number back. Negative 6 squared gives us a 36. Plus 4 times negative 6. Again, 4 times negative 6 negative 24, and then we keep that minus 3. So now we have the square root of 36 plus a negative 24 minus 3. Right now, we're just going to do this part right there. 36 plus negative 24. 36 plus negative 24, or 36 minus 24. They mean the same thing. 36 minus 24. That's going to give us a 12, and we still have the minus 3. So now we got to do our next line. $12 minus 3 is going to give us a 9. So now we just need to take the square root of 9, which gives us a final answer of 3. So, given that f of x equals the square root of x squared plus 4x minus 3, what is the value of f of negative 6? That is going to be 3. Now on to number 2. Given that g of x equals 11 minus x squared, for what value or values of x does g of x equal negative 5? One thing I want us all to note right now, this had f of negative 6. We plugged that negative 6 in. This has g of x equaling negative 5. We are not plugging negative 5 in for x. This is a different problem. The way that this one works is if we wanted to go, okay, g of x equals negative 5 from that last bit of information we were told, and then it also equals 11 minus x squared. So now looking at it, we can get rid of this part out front, and now we have negative 5 equals 11 minus x squared. What I want to do, because I think it's going to make things a little bit easier moving forward, may not seem like it right away, but in a hot second I'm sure you guys will see it. I want to move everything from the right over to the left over here. So, going to subtract 11. Going to add x squared, and whatever I do to one side, have to do to the other. So, subtract 11, add x squared. What that's going to do is it's going to let me say over here, okay, x squared minus 16 equals 0. Now this should look like a problem that we are very, very comfortable with. We have the difference of squares, and after a little bit of work with this, we should be able to go right away, okay, x minus 4, x plus 4 equals 0. We set each of those equal to 0. So I have x minus 4 equals 0 and x plus 4 equals 0. So then I get my answers being negative 4 and 4. So given g of x equals 11 minus x squared, for what values of x does g of x equal negative 5? Your answers are negative 4 and 4.